All right, so today we're diving deep into how the soul communicates. We found this fascinating YouTube video by Hans Wilhelm, and wow, he's got some interesting theories.
Oh, yeah. Wilhelm proposes this really intriguing concept that our souls are basically on like a journey.
Okay.
They're yearning to return to this divine source. He describes it as a seven-dimensional reality.
7 dimensions.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a little hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
So how did we end up so far from this divine source to begin with?
Well, he calls it the fall, this idea that we chose to like separate from that higher realm and inhabit these physical bodies. And here's where it gets really wild.
Yeah.
He says that the density of our physical forms actually reflects how connected we are to that divine source. You can almost imagine like a spectrum.
Yeah.
Those who are deeply aligned with the divine have like finer, lighter bodies. And then those who have turned away have denser ones. It's like our physicality mirrors our spiritual state.
So it's not just about our souls returning to this 7-dimensional reality, but it's also about how our physical bodies reflect our connection to it.
Right.
Okay. So if our souls are on this journey back to the divine, how do they communicate with us along the way?
Right.
They can't exactly like send us a text message, right?
Exactly. And that's where Wilhelm introduces feelings.
Oh,
He sees feelings as a bridge
okay.
between our souls and our physical bodies,
Interesting.
a way for the soul to kind of express itself. So think of it this way. The soul sends out a signal.
Yeah.
Our feelings pick it up, and that translates into the moods we experience every day.
Okay. So our moods are like the language of the soul.
Exactly.
That makes me think about those days when I just wake up feeling amazing for no reason.
Yeah.
Is that my soul just having a good day?
He actually uses that exact example.
Really?
Yeah. Waking up in a good or bad mood, Wilhelm says, is a direct message from the soul.
Wow.
A kind of baseline for the day ahead. And he also talks about dreams as another way our soul communicates.
Okay.
They often carry specific moods, sometimes symbolic, that can offer guidance or insight into our waking lives.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've definitely woken up from dreams feeling unsettled or even joyful, even if I couldn't really remember the details.
Right.
So if our moods are this language, how do we begin to understand what our soul is trying to tell us? Is there a way to get fluent in it?
Well, Wilhelm suggests a practice of self-monitoring throughout the day. So pause and ask yourself, what mood am I in right now? What might be causing this feeling? Is there something my soul is trying to communicate through this particular mood?
So it's about cultivating awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Awareness of those subtle shifts within us.
But it's not just our souls talking to us through our moods, right?
Yes.
Wilhelm also mentions our conscience.
Absolutely. He believes our conscience also uses feelings as a way to communicate.
Interesting.
It often acts as a kind of warning system or that little voice of intuition.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt a knot in your stomach when you knew you were about to do something you shouldn't?
Yeah.
That's your conscience sending up a red flag. It's trying to guide you toward a better path.
Now, this is where things get really interesting for me.
Hmm?
Wilhelm connects this to karma, saying that the challenges we face might be echoes of past actions. It's like our past is shaping our present experiences in ways we might not even realize.
It's a compelling idea, isn't it? If we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it suggests that our actions have consequences that kind of ripple out beyond just this lifetime. It adds another layer to understanding why we might experience certain moods or attract certain situations.
So all those moods, whether they're positive or negative, they're ultimately coming from within us.
Exactly.
It's not about blaming external circumstances. It's about taking responsibility for our own inner landscape.
We are the source of our own emotional reality. And understanding that can be incredibly empowering. But of course, there are certain patterns of thinking that can kind of keep us stuck in negativity. Wilhelm points to two major culprits: expectations and judgments.
Okay, let's unpack those a bit.
Yeah.
When you say expectations, are you talking about those moments when we feel like we deserve something?
Yeah,
Or that things should go a certain way?
precisely. When we cling to those rigid expectations, we're often seeking something at the expense of others' energy and free will. This actually goes against the principle of divine love, which is all about respecting individual choice
Okay.
and allowing things to unfold naturally.
So letting go of those expectations could actually lead to more positive moods.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering to the flow of life
Yeah,
rather than trying to control every outcome.
that's a great way to put it. It's a shift from entitlement to acceptance, which can be incredibly liberating.
And what about judgments? It feels like those are pretty hardwired into the human experience.
Yeah.
We're constantly comparing ourselves to others and making snap assessments.
Absolutely. That constant need to feel superior,
Yeah.
to measure ourselves against others,
Ugh.
keeps us locked in negativity. Wilhelm suggests that true happiness actually lies in embracing our own unique journey and recognizing the inherent worth in everyone, including ourselves.
This makes me wonder about how we often label certain feelings as good or bad. It seemed like Wilhelm's challenging that entire framework.
He is. He actually encourages us to embrace and explore all our feelings and moods.
All of them.
Yeah, seeing them as valuable tools for connecting with our souls and our consciences.
Yep.
It's about shifting our perspective from seeing feelings as weaknesses to recognizing them as essential parts of our human experience.
So instead of trying to suppress those negative emotions, we should lean into them and try to understand what they're trying to tell us.
Precisely. When we bury our feelings, they often come back even stronger. But if we can sit with them, explore their roots, and learn from them, we can potentially transform them into something positive and insightful.
This all ties back to that self-monitoring you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's about becoming more aware of our emotional landscape and what it's trying to reveal about ourselves and our souls.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language, the language of our soul. And the more fluent we become, the better we can understand its messages and navigate our lives with greater purpose and fulfillment.
But where did Wilhelm get all these insights? Did he just come up with all this on his own?
That's a good question. It does feel like a pretty unique perspective.
Yeah. Did he have any mentors or teachers?
He actually credits his understanding to the teachings of a spiritual teacher named Gabrielle.
Gabrielle.
Yeah. He mentions her book, The True School is Life, Volume 1, which delves deeper into these concepts and provides a framework for understanding this spiritual journey.
So there's a whole book dedicated to this stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like Wilhelm is really passionate about sharing these ideas and helping others connect with their own souls.
He is. He even mentions participating in a study group.
Oh, wow.
Where people gather to discuss these teachings and share their experiences.
So he found a community.
Yeah.
That's a pretty inspiring example of how learning and growth can happen in a group setting. It's amazing to think that something as simple as joining a study group can spark such profound insights. But I'm still kind of wrestling with this idea of the soul communicating through our moods. If it's a language, what are some of the key phrases or signals we should be paying attention to?
Well, going back to Wilhelm's idea of the fall, he describes this seven-dimensional reality as like a realm of pure love and interconnectedness. It's a state of being where there's no separation, there's no duality.
So if that's our soul's like origin point,
Right.
how does that relate to the moods that we experience here in the physical world?
Think of it this way. Every time we experience a mood, that reflects that sense of interconnectedness. That feeling of like unconditional love or deep joy. It's like a little signal from our soul, reminding us of where we came from.
So those moments of pure bliss where we feel connected to something larger than ourselves, those are glimpses into our soul's true nature.
Exactly. But then there are those other moods, the ones that feel heavy and contracted, like fear, anger, or jealousy. Wilhelm suggests that these moods might be signals that we've strayed from that path of love and connection.
That makes sense. It's like our soul is kind of nudging us back toward that state of unity.
Right.
Reminding us to let go of those thoughts and behaviors that are creating separation.
Yeah.
And that's where those concepts of expectations and judgments come into play.
Exactly.
When we're caught up in expectations, we're essentially trying to force our will on the world.
Yeah.
And that creates a sense of resistance.
Right.
But aren't some expectations healthy? I mean, we need to have some goals and standards in life.
Of course. It's about recognizing the difference between healthy aspirations and rigid demands. So a healthy expectation might be, I'm going to put my best effort into this project.
Right.
A rigid expectation might sound more like, this project has to go perfectly and everyone needs to love it.
So it's about the energy behind the expectation.
Exactly.
If it's coming from a place of fear or control, that's when it creates disharmony.
Right.
And it's potentially a negative mood.
Precisely. It's about aligning our actions with our soul's desire for connection and allowing things to unfold naturally.
And what about judgments? Those can be so sneaky. We often don't even realize we're doing it.
Judgments are essentially a way of separating ourselves from others, creating a sense of us versus them. It's like a subtle form of egotism that keeps us trapped in a cycle of comparison and negativity.
Wilhelm suggests that true happiness comes from embracing our own unique journey and recognizing the inherent worth in everyone.
He believes that when we shift our focus from judgment to compassion, we start to align with our soul's true nature,
Okay.
which is all about love and interconnectedness.
This is all giving me a lot to think about. It's like we need to retrain our minds to recognize these subtle signals from our souls.
And that's where the practice of self-monitoring comes in. It's about paying attention to those moments when a mood shifts,
Yeah.
taking a deep breath,
Huh?
and asking yourself, what's going on here? What might my soul be trying to tell me through this feeling?
It's about becoming more attuned to our inner landscape
Yeah.
and learning to decipher the messages that our souls are sending.
Exactly. It's a process of deepening our self-awareness
Okay.
and developing a more intimate relationship with our own souls.
You know, it's fascinating to me that Wilhelm found this guidance through the teachings of Gabrielle. It makes me curious to learn more about her and her book, The True School is Life.
Well, remember how Wilhelm mentioned those study groups he participates in? It sounds like they're diving deep into Gabriel's teachings, exploring these concepts in a supportive community setting.
That's such a powerful example of how knowledge can be passed down
Right.
and how communities can foster personal growth.
It really highlights the importance of finding like-minded individuals who can support us on our journeys of self-discovery.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the idea that our moods are so much more than just fleeting emotions. They're actually a profound form of communication from our souls, guiding us back to that state of love and connection. It's a powerful reminder that we're not alone on this journey and that our souls are constantly communicating with us, offering guidance and support every step of the way. It really makes you wonder just how many messages we've missed from our souls just because we weren't paying attention. Or, we dismiss those feelings as just random
Oh, yeah.
fluctuations.
Think about those times you had a gut feeling about something, but you ignored it because it didn't make logical sense.
Yeah.
Or those moments of sudden inspiration that you brushed aside because you were too busy or distracted. Those could have been messages from your soul trying to guide you.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling, but it's also kind of exciting. It's like we have this untapped potential within us,
Right.
this inner wisdom that's always available if we can just learn to listen.
Wilhelm suggests that the more we practice self-monitoring
And attuning to our feelings,
Yeah.
the more fluent we become in this language of the soul.
So it's like any other language. The more we immerse ourselves in it, the better we understand its nuances and complexities.
Exactly. And as we become more skilled at recognizing those subtle messages, we can start to make choices that are more aligned with our soul's true desires.
This makes me think about Wilhelm's idea that our physical bodies actually reflect our connection to the divine.
Yeah.
If our souls are yearning to return to that seven-dimensional reality,
Right.
could becoming more attuned to our souls also have a positive impact on our physical well-being?
That's a really interesting question. And while Wilhelm doesn't explicitly address it in the video, it's definitely something to ponder. If our moods and emotions are reflections of our soul's journey,
Right.
it stands to reason that aligning with our soul's purpose could lead to a greater sense of harmony and well-being
Yeah.
on all levels. This deep dive has really given me a lot to think about. It's really shifted my perspective on how I view my moods and emotions. Instead of just seeing them as these random occurrences,
Right.
I'm now looking at them as potential messages from my soul,
Yeah.
guiding me on my own unique journey.
And remember, you don't have to navigate this alone. Wilhelm found support and guidance through Gabriel's teachings and those study groups. There are resources and communities out there that can help you deepen your understanding of these concepts and connect with others who are on a similar path.
That's a great reminder. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the soul's language, what's one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to walk away with?
Pay attention to your feelings. Don't dismiss them as insignificant or irrational. Explore them with curiosity and compassion. Ask yourself, what might my soul be trying to tell me through these feelings? You might be surprised by the wisdom you uncover.
That's fantastic advice. We've been diving deep into how the soul speaks to us through our moods, our dreams, and even our conscience. It's a journey of self-discovery, and we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas and see what insights emerge for you.
Remember, your soul has a story to tell. And it's speaking to you all the time. Are you listening?
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to tune in and start deciphering those messages. Thanks for joining us.